From the Book of Enoch, chapter 10, verses 9 to 12. In those days they shall be led off to the abyss of fire, and to the torment and the prison, in which they shall be confined forever.
Video Visions Ltd. was created on the 15th of January 2024 and defines itself as Video Visions Ltd. aims to bring you subtle and compelling stories set in the UK and Ireland during the turbulent Thatcher era. We will be using a mixture of archive footage and live-action recording to bring something new to the indie horror world. This project, led by Trey D, also known as Kando online, has started a project known as They Don't Know They're Born, an analog horror ARG set in the 80s in Britain. This series does not pull punches in its tone and storytelling, so this is your only warning that there are going to be disturbing topics talked about in this video. With all that out of the way, let's jump into They Don't Know They're Born.
British men under the age of 25 have a conviction for something more serious than a motoring offence.
Unemployment hits harder still. The new total means 1 in 7 has no job.
3 small children found a badly decomposed body.
The first 3 videos start out how many ARGs do, with sporadic clips, mysterious messaging, and consistent theming throughout. Tape 1 shows random BBC footage from Channel 4, advertisements and videos and such, with a few common themes with juvenile delinquency and some fascination with caves. Tape 2 expounds on these themes, showing more juvenile delinquency, with young adults breathing into bags, which was something very confusing to me. It's not something I was familiar with, but when I looked into it, it seems to be a way that people were able to place some form of substance into and be able to get some form of high from it, depending on the substance. Tape 2 also has a tech demo talking about how computers are used to process complex audio waves using the computer's memory, and once the word memory is said, the video starts to corrupt, with soon after the EMS sound playing, telling people that are watching to not forget. And finally, Tape 3 seems to be some form of distorted advertisement for some getaway where parents are able to leave their kids for a while and relax while their kids will enjoy their time, saying that there is no danger, with the video repeating and with the final repeat saying there is danger. Rather on the nose, for sure, but it shows us as the viewer that there are some form of sinister motives going on at this place. Whatever this organization is trying to do, they are targeting these people's children. Message from Sender 2 is one of the most important videos in this entire ARG, and it is quite a doozy, so I'll try to simplify it for you all. Message from Sender 2 continues the themes of 1980s British television, but instead of just showing some theming and an advertisement, there is a hidden message within this, with split-second frames that seem to be some form of subliminal messaging. Here they are in order. Isn't there something else you want? You could have a good life again. It doesn't have to be like this. It's their fault. It also shows an Express magazine report talking about juvenile delinquency. They're not like us when we were children. We have a solution. Send them to us. You will feel good when they leave. She doesn't exist. Forget her. You won't miss them. Stop looking. This seems to have been a broadcast that was sent out at some time. With this subliminal messaging, it coincides with Tape 3 talking about leaving your children and forgetting them. The themes of memory and family seem to be very common in these. And you may have noticed some form of seal at the very beginning of this video, and this seal can be correlated to one of the next videos that are posted.
It is a parent's worst nightmare to pour their love, care and attention into a child only through no fault of their own to witness them go off the rails. Our foundation is here to help. Using revolutionary social and psychological techniques, we can work with your child to correct aberrant behavior and place them back on the course to live a happy and healthy and productive life. Through rigorous selection criteria, we have maintained an extremely high success rate that saved many young people from many such societal ills, such as alcoholism, drugs, wanton behaviour, and prison. Our program is open to boys and girls aged 8 to 14 and is suitable for anyone, regardless of social background or religion. Contact us on free post, Atavist Foundation, London SW1 for more information.
Now this series has really gone full throttle. This is a good time to provide some very important information. Along with the date that is provided with every single video, there is some form of passage from biblical scripture. And these scriptures are not lighthearted and definitely emphasize the main theme of the series. There is a generation that curses its father and does not bless its mother. There is a generation that is pure in its own eyes, yet is not washed from its filthiness. Alas, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a brood of evildoers, children who are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked to anger the Holy One of Israel. They have turned away backward. Juvenile delinquency and civil unrest have been more than just mentioned in this series so far, and will only become stronger themes throughout the series. But something that will show up later are themes of religion and the occult. Remember that for later. The next few videos to come out are recordings the Atavist Foundation have in their log, including people that they are currently gaslighting as well as their own workers. Mr. J. Dawson is the first of these audio recordings. Audio recording 1 goes through a recording between Mr. Dawson and his clinician, and he talks about how he can't remember his own child, or at least he insists that is his child. He remembers coaching a soccer league for youths and was able to coach them into an undefeated season, and many people once that season was up assumed that they went off to play professionally. But as it turns out, Mr. Dawson has fallen into some form of amnesia, forgetting his own child, with the face of the child blotted out in the image that he has. The mystery around leaving your children and forgetting them is starting to come to light. And in one of the next videos, we get to see how the Atavist Foundation, the organization that we can now correlate with the insignia we see in the second message video, responded to people forgetting their own children.
Welcome, and thank you for attending our orientation and treatment sessions today. Here at the Atavist Foundation, we strive to help people like you to live productive and happy lives. You have been referred to us as you are at risk or experiencing a severe case of PCS, Phantom Child Syndrome. First, let us state quite clearly that a child you've been thinking about is not real. You would remember raising a child. Your bonds as a father or mother wouldn't allow them to slip from your memory. Similar disorders of the mind may be caused by maladapted brain structures or traumatic experiences. However, in your case, you have been exposed to an extremely rare but naturally occurring chemical substance due to your previous proximity to an active mining operation. Phantom Child Syndrome most commonly manifests through memory fragments, such as a flashback to playing with them in park or scolding them for bad behavior. In brief, we will work with you to compile images that are representative of the child plaguing your memories and undertake aversion therapies to banish the thoughts from your mind. You will be prescribed with a course of medication which will gradually purge your mind of the foreign substances. Over time, you will find that all thoughts of this child will be suppressed and ultimately eliminate it. Remember, we are here to help.
This video talks about a substance that messes with the mind, and that the Atavist Foundation has a way of curing them of this phantom child syndrome. There's a huge scheme this Atavist Foundation is performing to cover up their tracks and potentially to use these people and manipulate them for a darker cause. In a video named Interrogation, one of the employees complains to their boss, talking about how the children that they are working with behave extremely weirdly and do not respond to pain, and it completely throws him off guard, but his boss shrugs him off, saying that it's probably nothing, with the most important thing in that video being that the children had a crazy obsession with the cave walls. This cave system seems to be more of the epicenter of this whole ARG, and it's not the only video we have that talks about these weirdly behaving children. In a video called The Last Call, there's an audio intercept by the Atavis Foundation that first talks about this weird substance that they may or may not be taking, that they're explaining as it can't be heroin or the medication Valium, it must be something different, and he's telling the person on the call to drop it immediately. He has become suspicious of what is going on, and he follows some kids into this cave system where he spots them performing some form of ritual, and he is spotted and has to run for his life, once again proving that this cave is the epicenter of this whole issue. And we get to experience a bit of closure with Mr. Dawson. In a video named Mr. Dawson, the longest video on the channel by far, provides a patient recording between him and his clinician again, where Mr. Dawson comes clean about something he held from his clinician. He talks about exploring the photo that he had about the child that he swears is his. He does some investigating and finds a person who used to work with him, and he's able to obtain a non-corrupted photo of him and his kid. And the images are spot on to the images that were drawn with him and his clinician. He basically proves to himself and to his clinician that this child was real and he does not experience phantom child syndrome. But what Mr. Dawson doesn't realize is that phantom child syndrome does not exist, and this clinician has been gaslighting him for who knows how long. The clinician tells him to step outside while he makes up his mind, but he attempts to secretly call security to take him away. But luckily Mr. Dawson overhears him, assuming something is up, and is able to escape his confinement before security gets there. The final part currently available of this ARG answers a lot of the questions that are posed at the beginning, but also poses a lot of new questions. A new character is introduced. I'm going to call him the preacher for the rest of this. This preacher guy provides a sermon where he talks about the sinful nature of Great Britain and how this chaos and civil unrest, this juvenile delinquency, isn't happening somewhere around the world, it's happening in their backyard, and that something needs to change. A religious revolution needs to occur if Britain wants to survive this. And this preacher seems to have information about the Atavis Foundation. By far the most chilling video of this whole series is a video named Survivor, where this anonymous woman talks about what happened in her city. One fateful night, the television comes on telling people to not look away from the screen, and people are completely awestruck by it. And chaos ensues. Fire spreads around the city, and people start attacking the people not affected, including her, and escape the city. And interestingly enough, she drives off seeing a fleet of police officers surrounding the city, knowing that the nearest police office does not have that many cars. So this was some form of inside job. And the preacher knows this, and calls for people to look into this, and demands justice. Potentially this preacher may be on our side. And if you have really been paying attention, the video played during Survivor looks a little familiar, doesn't it? That's because it is Message from Sender 2. If you remember, there is a ton of subliminal messages, hidden frames within this video that send its own hidden message. This video seems to be some form of weapon created by the Atavis program that consumed this entire city into madness. Something else that is very interesting that the preacher mentions is the name Semyaza. Now this wasn't something I was familiar with. Semyaza seems to be a fallen angel who is in charge of a unit of fallen angels, and is best known in 1st Enoch, saying he was the one who taught pharmaceutical enchantments from plants. Sound a little familiar? Now, throughout this whole series, there has been a lot of biblical imagery and passages under every single verse. So my assumption is Semyaza isn't behind all of this, but only a figure of speech to describe the patterns and behaviors of the true evil that is going on here, the evil of the cave. The last two videos I want to talk about is Pathway to Unity and The Sacrifice. The Sacrifice is an audio recording of someone who is loyal to this cave system and is bringing back a constrained victim, where in the end, he ends up sacrificing this victim to the cave. This cave is alive and is able to control human beings, and in the video Pathway to Unity, it explains how it does it. There are many moving parts to this ARG, but Pathway to Unity is an excellent ending point for this video. This video shows us what this cave truly is. The chemical being created in this cave is a variant of LSD, making humans extremely suggestible, almost like what the CIA wanted to happen when they originally created LSD in a lab. This serum seems to have originated due to evolution, as it originally lured animals of prey into the cave to satiate itself, but has evolved enough to be able to take over the minds of humans, and now has created this vast organization as some form of conspiracy to not just satiate itself, but to create some form of mind slave army to do its bidding. And the Atavist Foundation is weaponizing this serum to mind control the population under the guise of helping straighten up juvenile delinquents. This has been some of the most fun I've had investigating an ARG. The story is so gripping and is done so well with such great voice acting that I became addicted immediately. This channel deserves thousands upon thousands of subscribers and a ton of support. They have a Patreon and a Twitter, and I suggest that you follow them immediately, because this is an ongoing mystery and I can't wait to see what it does next. Thank you all, and good night.